All right, we are live, I hope, anyway. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us for our JET program live stream. And this is a non-typical JET program live stream, as in, like, it's not a Q&A necessarily like we have been doing with panelists. But this time, we have 5 or 6 wonderful JETs from all over Japan, and they are joining us today to do some random talks about different things. And it's just basically what they want to talk about. We've got all kinds of different topics today. So yeah, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. All right. So first of all, I'm just gonna introduce myself. I'm Laura. I am the moderator over at Incoming Jets Facebook group, and I'm currently a 5th year Jet. Let's see, let me get the banner out here. I'm an oldie. I'm a rainbow unicorn, and I just signed on for a 6th year. I'm going to be an alicorn.
Congratulations.
Yay, thanks. And my co-host here, new guy, is Jordan. Jordan, you want to introduce yourself?
Yep. Hey, I'm a 2nd year senior high school Ehime ALT down in Matsuyama. I'm one of the PAs in Ehime and haven't done a live stream ever. So let's see how this goes. Yes.
Okay, because we don't know what we're doing most of the time anyway. So
wonderful. Perfect.
Especially this time. Yeah, well, this is new territory for me too, because I've never done this kind of format. So we're gonna see how this goes. Yep. Okay. So first of all, the way it's gonna go, guys, who are we've got 12 watchers already. Hi everyone for joining us. Thank you. And yeah, so the way it's going to go today is me and Jordan are hosting, and we've got some people who are coming in. They're going to do like 15 to 20 minutes each, and they're just going to talk about different things. And we've got a variety of awesome people who are joining us today. So without further ado, and no more gilding the lily, Jordan, would you please introduce our first people? It's the first people who will be coming up here. And I'm going to bring them into the stream. Yeah.
Okay. First up, we have Jacob and Cassidy, correct?
Yes, Jacob and Cassidy.
A couple in, it's not Hyogo, it's the city, isn't it? Right?
Kobe,
yes.
Yeah.
Kobe specifically, not the prefecture, because it's a separate.
Hi, guys.
Hi, hello, everybody.
Oh, we got half a face from each of us.
Yeah, we gotta get comfy. Yeah, you come in each other this way. Okay. Hi. Hello.
How do I just? There we go.
That's good. Oh, perfect. Perfect. You can see my Evangelion poster in the back too, so it's nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
Ladies first.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
what are you guys going to talk about with us today?
So we are going to talk about being a couple in the JET program. So I guess we'll do little introductions first. So my name is Cassidy. I am a 2nd year JET here in Kobe City, and I have signed on for a 3rd year. And this is we're big. This is my fiance.
Hi, I'm Jacob. I'm also a 2nd year Kobe City Jet, signed on for a 3rd year. I'm a full-time elementary school Jet, which is a thing that Kobe City is doing just for the last couple of years. So that's kind of exciting.
Oh yeah. And I am a junior high school Jet, also 2 elementary schools, but depending on what happens, I will be going full-time elementary school in September for 2nd semester.
Yep. So we're here to talk about being a couple on JET.
Yeah.
So we both are, we're weird. We are not married.
Not married, which is a thing.
Yeah, we're very lucky to have been placed together because, everybody always says, married couples only matter. And if you're not married, it's not going to matter. So we are very lucky, and it's not impossible for a unmarried couple to be placed together. Yeah.
They really emphasized when we were going through like the interview process, what would you do if you get in, but your, fiance doesn't, or vice versa? Like, would you still go on with the program? So they really emphasized, that we don't take engagement or, boyfriend, girlfriend, anything besides marriage into consideration. And so, I think we were super, super fortunate, super, super lucky to have gotten in, both of us. Not only both of us get into the JET program, but both of us get placed into the same city. So I think Kobe is really unique because our year, we came in, we were an engaged couple, and there were 2 or 3 other married couples who got into the program.
That were both Jets.
They were both Jets.
There were also a few couples that are dependent Jets.
Yeah, so there are also couples that are, one person is a Jet and the other came later. So I think Kobe is really trying to test out.
Save on housing costs.
Save on housing costs, yes, because we do live together. That's another thing. So the Board of Education was really eager to work with us, which was super nice. Because we are engaged, they put us in the same apartment, which is really nice. So we have a 2 LDK, which is it's so nice coming from Los Angeles, where our apartment was, this big. So it's really nice. But the BOE has been super, super helpful, like working with us and making sure that we can, be together. And we haven't had really any problems with it, which is nice. It was a little weird at the ward office when we first got here.
Yeah, the people at the ward office were a little bit confused about 2 separate people applying for the same address at the same time that weren't a married couple and weren't roommates, so they didn't really know what to do with our application.
Yeah, it's not so much a common thing here to be living together and not yet married, but it's been really great. We have each other to commiserate and talk about work stuff, which is really nice. It's like having a
built-in support
group, which is really nice. But it's really cool because, like I said, so Kobe our year brought in, a couple of couples, and then the next year, so this current year, they brought in even more. So I think there were 2 or 3 jet couples, and then oh my gosh,
4 or 5.
6, yeah, a lot of
dependent couples.
One jet with the dependent couples. So I really think they're trying to like bring more couples in. Maybe it's just something unique to our city, because I know we are getting a lot of jets. This go around, we're going to be getting a lot more. So I would expect that we're probably getting more couples here. But yeah, that's essentially our experience. I don't know if anybody has any like questions specific to being a couple here, or navigating Japanese life as an unmarried couple. So scandalous. I've heard Kobe is kind of a hub for couples. I'm going with my dependent, and I was told a few times to tentatively expect Kobe.
I would not be surprised. Kobe, I mean, like we said, Kobe has had a bunch in the last 3 years, like tons of couples. So I don't know if other cities are going to see it as a lead and follow in Kobe's footsteps, or if Kobe is just going to be the city that continues to take all or a lot of couples. But don't be surprised if you end up in Kobe.
I will just say that I think Kobe is like one of the best placements. We absolutely love it here. So
definitely.
Before I came to Japan, we both have very different personalities. Jacob is very much like an extrovert, and he's very like, he can just do anything at the drop of a hat and, have no reservations. I'm a little more introverted, and I'm a little more like cautious and nervous with stuff. So I was really nervous to come here. I didn't know what to expect, but I think being placed in Kobe has been really great. Not only because one, like that we have a great support system with each other, and our Board of Education was really supportive of that, but just because it's a really great city. Also, I'm a Kobe PR ambassador, so that's cool. I like Kobe a lot.
Jaded Reader, you also asked about, yes, 2 bedrooms.
It depends.
Most other people so Kobe City has housing separated into 2 major areas. One area is up in the mountains, and I'm not too familiar with their housing complexes because we don't live up there.
It's all UR, which is like a big like housing conglomerate here in Japan.
But the second housing area, Tamondai, which is where we live, most of the apartments are 1 DK, 1 LDK.
1 DK. And on the smaller side.
We got placed in a building that's a little bit older than everybody else's and has fewer units in it, so the units are a little bit bigger. So we got a 2 LDK, and possibly because I requested ahead of time, because there were 2 of us that we wanted more space. But I don't know if that actually had any effect on it. I do know that a majority of the other couples got put into the newer buildings, and those are all 1 DKs.
Yeah, it really just depends. So I think they're more than willing to work with you if you are a couple. And ESID, I hate that so much, but it really is. Every situation is different. And if you are coming to Kobe specifically, the BOE is great and the CIRs are great, and they're more than willing to work with couples and get you guys, the best possible situation.
Definitely. They do whatever they can for us.
Yeah. I've heard about some people being able to transfer from one place to another after getting engaged to someone in a different region.
I can't speak to that because we did get placed in the same region. One thing I will say is during the interview process, they did ask us what we would do if we were placed separately. And I had said that if we were placed separately, I would hope that it was close enough that we could commute to see each other, but I wasn't going to drop out of the program just because we were not going to be living together. In the end, it didn't end up being relevant. But as far as transfers go, it's not super common. This last year, we had 2 people transfer into Kobe from another city.
I actually know. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh.
I have a relevant thing.
Well, so 2 people transferred into Kobe from another city, but it was because their city was not going to recontract them, but they wanted to recontract for a couple more years.
So as far as like being engaged to somebody and being able to transfer, everything that I've read and everything that I heard, like before I was coming to Jet and when I was researching this, was that they don't consider transfers unless if there's a marriage, like you get married to somebody who's far away, or there's like, you know, a medical thing, or your family is there. So I can't speak to that, but there is a Jet here. Actually, she came and her fiance was a Jet in Hyogo.
Oh, I don't know.
Her fiance was also a Jet, but not here. They got married back in their home country, and I believe she's still a Jet here, but now I want to say one of them is going to transfer, like one way or the other. So I don't know. Like we've been saying, like engagement isn't really viewed as seriously as, you know, marriages are here. But something to consider that things do happen. Let's see, I'll be entering.
Yeah, Crimson Blade.
Go ahead. Take it.
My fiance and I will not be married until the following year. Will I be able to make them independent? Yeah, that's no problem. In fact, as soon as you get married, you'll be able to apply for the dependent visa. They won't be able to come with you on any sort of visa like that.
It'll be like
get married.
a travel visa, like the visitor
Travel,
visa, which,
holiday, or they could try and get a work visa, but those are very difficult to come by.
for the most part, the basic visa for most countries, I think, is 90 days. So they have 90 days to either come here and find a job and, you know, get put on a work visa, or at any point, if you get married, you can just get
you can at that point immediately
you can
apply
get
for
the dependent visa.
Yeah, so that's no problem. Also, depending on your city, you'll get a few extra vacation days for.
Hey, if you get married, 5 extra days.
Our city is 5 extra days. I don't know about other cities.
I think most places are pretty similar, but like we've dabbled in the idea of getting married here because, you know, we're having a great time here in Japan, and I think that would be a nice, memorable thing.
Plus those vacation days.
Plus those 5 vacation days, but. You know, what with COVID and everything right now, I don't think I want to get married in 2020. It hasn't been a good one, so I don't think I really want to have a special day on a not so special year.
Yep.
But
well, we've got a couple minutes left, and
what time's it?
13.
Oh wow.
We did prepare to talk about outside of work entertainment. If we ran out of things to talk about on couples.
Yeah, or if you guys have any questions, just let us at it. But
there we go.
Let's see. What has been the most challenging part of adjusting to a new country as a couple? Oh, I get a lot of, I don't want to say flack, but I've had a lot of like kind of snarky comments from some of my teachers. I remember one time after an Enkai, which if you guys don't know, an Enkai is like a drinking party with your work. So, you know, everybody gets sufficiently socially lubricated, we'll say. There's this one teacher, she's not an English teacher, and she does not even really speak any English, but we're on the train together and we're going home, and it's like maybe midnight or 1 a.m. and, you know, we're both drunk, and she's like asking me about my fiance. She's like, oh, wow, like your ring is so pretty, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, how old are you? And I was 25 at the time. So I was like, oh, I'm 25. And she's like, oh, very nice. Like, and your fiance, like he came from America with you, all this stuff. I'm like, yeah. And she's like, oh, how old is he? And I was like, oh, he's also 25. We're the same age. And she was like, oh, he's throwing his life away. He's too young to get engaged. Like, you know, you're not getting any younger. So you got to get on it, Christmas cake. But, you know, he's got his whole life ahead of him. He's in Japan with like the most beautiful girls in the world. And she's just going on and on and on and on and on. And I'm like, I've been in Japan like maybe a month and a half or 2 months at this time. And, you know, I'm trying to be polite. Like I'm trying to do the Japanese thing and just, you know, very, very calm and cool and collected. But I don't know, maybe my snarky American side came out with the alcohol. But I was like, excuse me, like, that's not okay to say to me. Like, how dare you? He's not throwing his life away. Like, I'm the best thing ever. Like, I was a little snarky. But, you know, I've gotten into situations like that where I've gotten some comments that are not so polite. So that has been rough for me. But that's pretty minimal now. I don't really care.
I feel like that's the big cultural thing, and I don't really see that at all because people don't people don't seem to have strong opinions to men. They seem to only have strong opinions to women.
Oh, yeah, she had an opinion.
Yeah, but I have found that like there are a lot of things that maybe are normal issues when you're back in your home country and things are fairly easy. You speak the language, you can just go to the store and buy something if you need something. But if you're in a new country, new culture, minimal language skills, mixed language skills, some issues that could be easily resolved become a lot more difficult.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it does take a strong relationship. And if you're not, 100% sure on this person, don't jump into moving into a foreign country with someone. Not all of the relationships that came to Kobe worked out. We've had a few couples not work out while they were here. And it's been pretty, it's hard to watch, but being in a foreign country does not make your life easier. You will have a lot of things that become a lot more difficult by being here.
Yeah, I definitely struggled in the beginning, like I said, and Jacob is much more go with the flow, so he was fine. But I definitely think it takes a really strong and a really supportive relationship because, if one of you is doing fine and the other is not doing fine, that's a problem for you, like as a team. And so when I first got here, I probably spent the first month just crying every single night. I would just lay on the floor of my apartment. I would cry. I'd be like, God, I've made a mistake. Like, what have I done? I was so upset. And I honestly, I can say I definitely don't think I would have been able to even finish my first year contract had it not been for having Jacob here and having that support here. So it definitely, it helps a lot to have that sort of support here, I think.
Mm-hmm. And I think maybe our time is up. If the moderator wants to jump back in. If not, then
any other questions?
You guys have a couple more minutes.
Sweet.
Let's see if I can adjust. There we go. Hi.
Hi.
Actually, we got another good question from Magnolia.
Budgeting.
You guys.
So it is a little bit easier paying one rent on two incomes, of course. But I would say you're not going to have any more trouble if you're a couple and one jet, one not jet. I would say it would be very difficult to have both of us living on one income only. But the cost of living here is a little bit lower than where we're from. So it's actually
it's a lot lower than where we're from. We're from Los Angeles.
Yeah, our rent went down to 25%.
Yeah, we paid $2,000 for a studio back in LA, and we pay a quarter of that for our apartment here.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, is it easier? I don't know if I would say it's easier. It's different. So yeah, we don't have a joint bank account. I don't know. You can probably set that up if you're a married couple, maybe.
Yeah, probably as a married couple. But we got separate separate accounts. And I would say that actually makes it easier because we can work together and make sure that, and I feel like this goes into more of couple than couple in Japan things. We can use our separate accounts to make sure that we both have equal spending money and equal savings and equal everything. And it makes it a lot easier if we can measure and, so I feel like, it comes down to the person on whether you want a joint bank account or separate bank accounts, but definitely double income on what's the term? DINK, double income, no kids.
Double income, no kids.
It's the way to be.
Yeah, we have a comfortable life here, and I'm really fortunate for that. Like the double income is really nice. The lower cost of living is really nice, and we're able to both save up a decent chunk of change. Like I can pay off my student loans, I can pay off credit card or anything like that. But I have a big chunk of it that goes into like wedding fund or getting a car when I go back and etc. So
yeah, we do well.
Yeah. We're happy.
Jaded Reader mentions thin walls.
Oh, I didn't see that.
That is definitely a thing. But we're lucky in our building to not have so many people living in our building.
No neighbors across from us. We did for a little bit, and they were obnoxious because our walls are literally made of paper.
Yeah, we had about 6 months with some college students sharing our bedroom wall, and we could always hear them. They were always out on the balcony, and it is a little bit obnoxious and a little bit tough, but I don't know. I feel like we got used to it. They were fairly good. They would stay up late and party on Fridays and weekends.
They were so loud.
But I never really had trouble with them on weekdays. I never had to go complain, and they never came and complained to us.
Yeah, we've never had really any super big screaming matches, but every couple has their arguments. But I wouldn't say it's even remotely a problem. Like somebody's going to call the police on us for.
And we recently got a cat, and she runs around and bangs on the floors all the time, and really haven't had any problems. I feel like people here are a little bit used to living in close proximity and having just like day-to-day noises.
Also, just a cultural difference too. I don't think people are really as apt to
come and complain.
Yeah, go to you if there's a problem. It's more like just come on.
Definitely.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So
Thank
I think that's
you.
about time. You guys have answered a lot of great questions. So if you guys have any more questions for Cassie and Jacob, just leave a comment or do this chat biz, and I'm sure they don't care to answer your questions. Right?
Yeah, let us know.
We'll jump in and take a look whenever we can.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, thanks so much for giving so much info.
Yeah, no problem.
Yep, we're glad to be here. Glad to help.
And if any of you come to Kobe, we're gonna meet you. Yay!
Yeah,
Kobe's the best.
Well, I'm a little biased on Yamanashi.
It's close to Yamanashi. Second
It's
best, tied for first.
It's first. Okay, I'll accept that.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Thank you guys so much.
No problem.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Alrighty.
Okay, so
now
next
back
up.
to Jordan and I. Alrighty.
Okay. So next up we have Nisa from Niigata
Yes.
talking about life as a Caribbean and POC ALT. Someone from Ehime with a ton of Caribbean ALTs. This is very interesting for me, and I'm excited to see what she has to add.
Alrighty. Hi, Nisa.
Hi everyone. Hey. Okay, so introductions.
I'll change the banner. You're not Cassie and Jacob. I'm so sorry. Okay, there we go.
Japanese winter survivor. Yes, that's what I am. So, hey guys, my name is Nisa, and I'm a first year ALT that recontracted for a second year, and I'm placed in the lovely, beautiful rice and snow country of Niigata, and I'm in Yukiguni actually. So today I'm just going to be talking about basically surviving winter and my experience through the entire winter process and coming from a tropical climate, having to deal with everything. So just a little tips and tricks that I would have picked up over the last winter. First of all, don't stress. Don't even think about winter when you're packing to get here. I had that mistake and I was looking for like winter coats and I packed 2 winter coats and took up a lot of luggage space. But don't do that. Just pack your essentials, pack as much as you can, forget winter. Once you get to Japan, take some time and actually like settle down at least maybe 1 month or so, and then you can start thinking about winter. I'm not sure exactly when the new jets will be arriving, so it might be a bit closer to winter season, but give yourself that time and you can shop here. Japan has everything winterproof ready to get you all set. The winter items, jackets, clothes, it's very cheap. You can get that at anywhere. Trip shopping, I didn't know that was a thing. Coming from the Caribbean, trip shopping wasn't a huge deal, so I was a bit taken aback at first, but you actually get some pretty good deals. And Uniqlo sells Heat Tech, which is your survivor for the winter. Basically, just layer up, buy at least 1 or 2 heavy duty winter jackets, depending on where you're placed. Obviously, I'm placed in a area that has a lot of snowfall, but fortunately for me, last winter there was not enough snow and everyone is complaining, and I was like, oh my god, yes, there's no snow. Winter and snow festival had to be canceled because there was no snow, but I was in my glory. In terms of your apartment, basically you need to, if you live in Inaka like I do in the countryside, your apartment is not going to be insulated at all. You're going to freeze in your apartment unless you get things moving. So I had a kerosene heater, and again, this was crazy to me, having fire and kerosene so close to each other. I was like, am I going to blow up? Like, I was so scared. I would put it on and I would run for the door just in case it blew up. I would be outside safely. And I did this every single time I put on my kerosene heater because it was loud and it was scary. But kerosene is really, really cheap, and it's cheaper than using your aircon to heat your apartment because heating in Japan is very, very expensive. And most people can attest to this. Um, Layers, wear layers to sleep. I cannot stress this enough, but your apartment is going to get cold regardless of how many heating apparatus you have in your room. Wear a lot of layers to sleep. So I slept with socks, a very thick, fluffy onesie, a hat at some points, and I slept under 2 blankets because with kerosene heaters, it's not recommended that you sleep with it on. So you would put it on, heat the room for like maybe an hour or so, and then just shut it down and sleep under all your layers. Another thing you can use to insulate your apartment is bubble wrap. So I had no idea what I was doing. Everyone just kept telling me, oh, just go to Daiso, buy some bubble wrap and put it on your windows. And I'm like, what? How do I do that? I I even had to look at a YouTube video to tell me how to bubble wrap my window. I did it wrong the first time, but then, you learn, but it helps, I think. I'm not sure the science behind it, but it did keep me a little bit warmer in here. I saw a question here from Jane. How much do you spend on utilities with a kerosene heater? Um, so I have these big red jugs of for the kerosene, the containers, and to fill it up, I paid about 2,000 yen. So give and take, roughly, that's about 20 less USD, around that. And it would last me for maybe a month and some change. So you're not going to spend a lot on kerosene, actually, which is why it's the cheapest option. Your aircon, however, will skyrocket your bill 100%. So even using the small space heaters that you would plug on, the electric ones, that will also send up your electric bill. And I hardly ever use that. I would use it again to heat the room, and then I'll jump into my pile of blankets that I would call a bed. So, yeah. Uh, Tips for recommending warmer months. So the warmer months, basically, once fall starts, for me, I was already like freezing. I was like, oh my God, it's so cold because I'm not accustomed to this type of weather. So my tip there would just be buy a really nice long light jacket so that you can wear it into fall, winter, and then transition it back into spring. Because sometimes the weather fluctuates so much that you would need clothes that would also fluctuate with you, and it doesn't make sense going out and buying for every season. So buy something that's a bit more versatile in that case. In terms of winter, one thing that I wanted to talk about the most is mental health during winter. Wintertime is very rough, especially if you're in a prefecture that is very, prone to a high level of snow. Sometimes you don't want to go out. It's difficult to go out to hang out with friends, but it's very easy to get isolated during winter, especially when you live far away from your fellow ALTs or fellow Jets or friends. I live in Inaka, so the closest person to me is 20 minutes drive. So make friends, go out, force yourself to go out there, pick up a hobby, exercise, because it's very easy to just wallow in your dark, gloomy days and just sit in your pile of blankets trying to stay warm. Be active. That's the best advice I can give anyone. And I was very thankful in my time here to have friends that were close by. We would always have like events and try to get everyone outside and keep checking up on one another. So that's definitely what you want to do for the winter months. If anyone have any questions about it, this is my first stream, by the way, so I'm still trying to figure out how everything is going, and I'm sorry if I'm talking so fast. I'm just trying to get everything out. Another issue that I wanted to talk about was being a POC, coming into JET and having all the stereotypes and dealing with comments and the stares, obviously, and the weird questions. So, a little background, I am from Trinidad and Tobago, so I'm from the Caribbean, and I'm of East Indian descent. So, coming here, obviously, I have darker skin than all the usual ALTs that you get from the big 7 countries. My first time in a classroom, I was doing a self introduction, and one of the kids, he drew a beautiful picture of me. And I was like, oh, thanks. But on the comment, it said, like a speech bubble, very black. And I didn't know how to take that because I was like, I'm not really sure. But again, he doesn't understand. People in Japan live in a bubble. That's basically how I'm going to describe it. They live in a bubble, most of them, especially if you're placed in the countryside. Their most interaction with a foreigner is going to be through the JET program or the limited foreigners that venture into their groups. And I would like to tell you that take it as a teaching moment. Every interaction that you have that you may think is racist or the comments are wrong, take it as a teaching moment. So I would have told the students, hey, it's not nice to say that. I am dark skinned, but you don't say, oh, you're black kind of thing. It's not cool. So again, every situation is different. Try not to take these comments to mind. The stares, obviously, people are just looking because they're curious about you. But take every single thing as a teaching moment. So, POC diversity. Yes, so there are JET groups that will deal with POC issues. I know for a fact there is a group on Facebook, POC group, that you can join. They reach out to each other, they help each other, they discuss issues. I know the entire Black Lives Matter right now is a big issue. And fortunately, I have a ALT friend who's from Jamaica. Her school actually allowed her to do an entire presentation for many classes based on the whole Black Lives Matter issue. And it was really empowering for her as well as the Black community that's here, the POC community that's here in Japan. So we were even trying to reach out to see if she can do that presentation at other schools. So my whole thing about coming here and dealing with POC issues, especially in terms of comments and, the stares and the little remarks that might seem racist, is that take it with a grain of salt and use it as a teaching moment, of course, to, really open these kids' eyes and even the adults, teach them. That's what you're here for. You're not just here to teach English, you're here to give a cultural experience as well. Another thing I wanted to touch on, I'm from the Caribbean, so when I got here, they wanted me to do like Halloween classes or 4th of July classes. And I'm like, we don't celebrate those things. So again, if you're from another country that's not the typical 7, use this again as a teaching method. I was like, hey, we have these festivals in my country. I would like to teach the kids about them, and be stern and be forward and ask. There's no, wrong answer that will come. The most they will do is shut you down and be like, no, we don't want this to happen. But try and use it as a teaching moment. I was talking about skincare because I'm sorry, I have everything written down in a book. Skincare for POCs, and the weather here is crazy, and you're not going to get a lot of products for your skin or your hair anywhere readily available in Japan, unless you order them online. So my advice is bring as many of your personal hair care, skincare, makeup, lotion, bring as much as you can in your suitcases. Forget clothes, you can buy that here. Bring those things. A simple thing like Jergens cream, like I use that on my skin. There's no other cream that like lotion that would, moisturize my skin, and it's not here available in Japan. It's available online via iHerb. Some of these companies do have it, but it's hella expensive. So bring as much as you can. Skincare, of course, you can get a lot of products here, but most of them have a lot of bleaching qualities, so it tends to make your skin a lot lighter, and it's not the best for colored skin. So definitely, if you have your favorites, make sure you can either buy it online and have it shipped to you in Japan by like Amazon, or ensure that you bring enough for yourself while you're here. And same goes with hair care products, especially with Africans' hair. Like it's difficult to find hair care products here. Some of my friends, it's difficult to find a barber that can cut black hair. So I've become my friend's barber, and I dabble with it. I'm not doing a good job, but it's going to be a learning curve for POCs with a lot of issues, but there are a lot of Jets here who are POCs, and it's great that you can reach out to them. Your senpais will help you in any way possible, and you'll be fine. Don't stress about it. Just be true to yourself, hold your values and hold your culture to your heart, and use this as a way to show everyone what's great about you. And coming from a different background, it's amazing, and it's an amazing experience to do that. I've had a great time sharing my Trini culture and my music and my food for everyone, and it's been absolutely amazing. Um, that's about it. The topic about holidays. How do you country's holiday? So
Yeah.
I have a
We'll
question
start.
here.
Yeah, we'll answer this last question, and then we'll have to
Yeah.
wrap up so we can
Yeah.
on. But yeah, go ahead and do the holiday question. Yeah.
Yes, so the holiday question. Luckily my schools were like really on board with the idea. So my country is famous for Carnival, which is like the big Rio de Janeiro carnival type thing. We're the biggest in the Caribbean, and they were so on board for it. They were ready. So definitely, I don't think they're going to shut you down. There are some stubborn schools that will say we prefer this, but I think you need to be persistent and tell them, hey, that's not what I do. This is what I do. I want to teach the kids. Maybe I can do both classes. So yeah, just definitely find like a common ground and negotiate your way through. But I don't think you should have too much of an issue doing that. So yeah, good luck. So yeah.
All right. Awesome.
Great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it was really cool to hear about all of your experiences, especially as someone who's not from like a typical country where you get Jets and they're like, oh yeah, we celebrate Christmas and Halloween, and you don't do that. So like, how do you deal with those kind of things?
Thanksgiving was also a big thing too. I was
Right,
like,
that's an American holiday. Like people aren't from America, and you're just like, I don't do Thanksgiving. So
Yep.
yeah. All right. Also, I wanted to tell you guys, Nisa is also a moderator over Incoming Jets. She's one of our new ones, her and Jordan both. So if you have any more questions for her, leave some comments and some chats, and then you can always go and like ask people in the Incoming Jets group too, right? Yeah.
Hey, thank you everyone. I had fun. Hope you guys got a little bit of tidbits. So bye.
Bye.
Thanks so much. See you. Okay, so next up we have Norma talking about non-native English speaking and how Asian Jets are treated, which should be extremely interesting.
Norma. Hi, Norma.
Hey, Norma.
Hi. I'm going to change the banner because I'm very slow. Okay, there we go.
All right, so hello. Hello, everyone. My name is Norma. My full name is a bit too complicated to say because it's half French and Norma is Spanish, and well, it's very complicated. But I'm an adoptee, so I'm basically a minority within a minority within a minority. But yeah, I'm Canadian, but I'm French Canadian, so I speak French as my first language, and yeah, my family is white, so we don't have a lot of adoptees in general in the JET program. So for as an Asian, I cannot really relate for those who are second generation that much. So it's gonna be like really ESID, as in like it's really my personal view on it. I know that the YouTube channel Kara Adventures is like really great on addressing those issues, but my view on it changes with my perceptions because mainly, well, I don't understand as much Japanese. I came in really knowing very little. So any kind of comments regarding towards my race or my ethnicity doesn't really compute to me, if especially if they're doing it in Japanese, and I can ignore it really well since I don't really understand it. But it has happened to me quite a lot, that's for sure. Ooh, Korean adoptee, cool. Yeah. So uh, so to go with that, at first I was really nervous when I came into the JET program because I was like looking at all the Kara Adventures videos and I was like, oh, how will it affect me? Because it made it sound like it would be a little bit harder because they expect if you look Asian, then you have to confirm a lot more. And well, before I came, that's another issue altogether. I know there was a lot of questions about it too, but my hair color was so different because I dyed it quite a lot. Like it was red and blue and green and pink. And I was like, oh, I have to confirm. So I dyed them black before I came. But the hair dye I use just goes away very fast. So it turned green after just a few weeks. So my schools were just all commenting on it, like, "Oh, your hair is green today." I was like, "Yeah, I'm sorry," but it went. It was okay. Eventually, like, I can't dye my hair all the time. So I just kept them green and red, and then I even dyed them once again. And my school has been really understanding, and part of them believes that it has to do with Japanese water for some reason. So it's not even my fault. It's Japanese water is turning my hair a funky color. But yeah, so there was that. But definitely, like, to echo what Nisa was saying, is you have to embrace your individuality to a certain point, but it can get hard because Japanese people are not really vocal about what they don't like, but they will pressure you and try to tweak it a little bit. And the fact that since I'm a French speaker, they don't really want to know. They don't really ask questions about it. They don't really want to know that I'm not a jet who's a native speaker. So in that sense, it's like it's kind of like they feel like um, I'm getting sidetracked by the questions, but yeah, it's kind of like they feel that if you're not a native speaker, you're not as good as the others. But yeah, it's just it is what it is, and in my experience, since I've learned English as the same way as Japanese people has in a way, it gets me a leverage to get my students to understand that it is not impossible to learn English. It is not impossible to be good at it, but you'll see for Asian speakers, you will understand that there's a lot of stigma, that it's really subtle, but it's still there. Like when I did my Jikoshokai, which is my self-introduction, I picked a lot of Asian countries to be like where I am from, and then I put Canada and United States in it. But for Japanese people, it is impossible of you to be from Japan if you have a good English. So if you speak English well, then for them it's not possible. You're not from Japan. And it's really hard to break that stereotype because there are a lot of Japanese people that are actually, they're immigrants, their family went through all over the world and then they speak English, but then yeah, they're just not acknowledged. So that might be an issue for people who are from Japan and are coming into the country. I know that for Chinese people, there is definitely a bigger stigma too, and there's a lot more of discrimination. So some of my friends who are from Canada are Chinese descent, and when they speak about it, then they feel a little bit more of yeah, like negative stereotypes. So I'm not saying you shouldn't say you're Chinese and you shouldn't bring your heritage to the table at all. I think it's important to actually push those stereotypes away, but I just want you to be aware that they exist, and there is a political situation between China and Japan and Korea, so those might affect you in a daily basis no matter what. So you have to be prepared. But in general, Japanese people are really, really nice. They might expect you to speak a lot more Japanese than you actually do. So if you go to restaurants with your white friends who are also Jets, then the waiters will definitely only speak to you, even if you have no idea what she or he is saying. Their eyes will just inevitably just single you out, and then yeah, so it's gonna happen. Like those things will definitely happen. But yeah, um, can you drink the tap water in Japan? It depends. Yeah, it depends. Like Laura since I said, yeah, it depends. So yeah, the other thing to cycle up also to what Nisa was saying about the holidays, which for me was a little bit hard too, because although we do celebrate Christmas and Halloween and everything, it kind of is a little bit different sometimes because, like in Quebec, it's only French. We don't really do the same type of rituals. So yeah. So there's that. It's hard also to get some time in the classroom. For me, it depends which school, it depends which teacher for sure. But a lot of the Japanese teachers are so busy and they have a lot of materials that are trying to cram into the English class, which makes it like really hard to get yourself in my experience, to actually get to talk about something. Have I been able to implement French in my class? Not as much as I wanted. Like I said, it has been really like pushed under the rug quite a lot that I speak French. Not a lot of people know, and I think I've only been able to tell one class about it because my JTE was like, "Oh, you speak French? Yeah, but we don't need French. We're teaching English here." So there is that. This is quite hard. I guess you can use your time when you're doing kyushoku, which is the long time, the lunch time you have with the students. And you could get yourself to try to implement your own language in during that time, because it's like about 30 minutes where you get to eat lunch with the kids, and then it's kind of free time. You sit with them, you can talk to them. Some of my friends get to have they are able to whip up a sort of lesson, which is not really a lesson, but they come up with their own topic and then they can present it during Kyushoku. But yeah, so there is this option. But you have to find your way. You have to find your way. Sometimes you have to find your way in really kind of very subtle way, because you will probably experience some sort of resistance. Even some people are really curious about it. They might be curious, but outside of class instead of during class, because they really want to focus on English. So yeah, there's definitely that. Yeah. So what was something that really helped me in my free time? In my free time, it's really hard. Um, because I'm the only French Canadian in my town. I'm in Oita. Oh, that was the thing that I wanted to say. Oita has also a lot of couples, and it also has a lot of Asian Jets in Oita. but yeah, I'm the only one who's French, and I tried to implement myself in, you know, a kind of French eikawa, which is like a foreign speaking school, but it's like private, so it's after. But the thing is, like, in my city, French isn't known at all, not that much. It looks cool and everything, but and basically they mainly learn French from France, which is completely different from my own language. Um, to a certain point, we can understand each other, but there are like variations and differences that makes it really difficult to learn. But yeah, I tried that and it wasn't conclusive. So if you are from a non-native speaking background, you might have trouble reaching out to people who will speak your language. So it's important to keep a close community with the people that are back home, because that's actually pretty much the only place where you can you can express yourself. And it can get really mentally tiring to work in English and evolve in English and then a little bit in Japanese too all the time, because it's your second language. It's going to be very, very mentally draining. It might be even more draining for you than you realize, because you're going to be doing this all the time. You don't have any person to speak to in your own language, and you come home and you just want to sleep. But yeah, it might happen. So what was the question? How have the kids taken to learning from someone else who is Asian? Do you think that affects their perception of you, your representative country, and language learning? Well, the kids that I've had, I teach only in elementary schools for now, and they're absolutely adorable, and they're really open to you know, opening their perception and everything. Um, so I think they're definitely less likely to consider me like a sort of curiosity that they can't approach. So they come to me, and they most likely half of the time they don't even know I'm the ALT. So they just come to me and randomly they just think I'm a teacher. So, and they are also a lot less shy at speaking Japanese with me, even if I don't always understand what they're saying. So they will approach you a lot more easily. I know one of my friend who's really gaijin looking used to really scare his students away, but this was not my experience at all. That is definitely not it. Um, does it affect their perception? I hope in a way that I can affect their perception into believing they can actually speak English one day, because the whole environment of Japanese classroom, even from the Japanese teachers, it's really, this is something that annoyed me quite a lot, is that they come with this idea that they can't, and that it's too hard. It's too hard. English is just too hard. No one can learn that language, and it's just like the teachers are like, if I couldn't learn that language when I was a kid, then why my kids would be able to? And yeah, so there's that too, that you have to fight a little bit. So yeah, that's a great question. Yeah. Any other question?
Hey.
Oh,
Hey.
can I ask a question? A lot of my friends who are Asian ALTs say that they have a difficulty getting kids interested in them as a person for some reason. They're seen as less, there's less novelty, I guess I'd say. Have you found that at all?
No, not
Oh,
really.
good.
Not really, because yeah, you have to be able to bring out your own culture. Because I'm kind of a weird mixed bag of, really they don't understand, because I'm Asian but I speak French, and they were like, what? And then I'm from Canada, so they really don't understand me.
Mhm.
But you know, if you're if you're bringing something, if you're bringing fun too into the classroom, for example, one of the things that I used to be more recognizable as the English ALT is that I would wear T-shirts that, you know, the teacher old T-shirts that always have puns and always have like really cute characters with English stuff that they talk about cupcakes and whatnot. And then, you know, I would always have students at least approach me to talk about my T-shirts, you know. Might not talk about me as a French person, but yeah, and they're really interested whenever I say my full name, which is like super long and super French, and they would try to say my name randomly in the corridor at me, which is absolutely really funny. So yeah, no, I didn't see that, but I mean, I could see it if I was also with another white ALT. I'm guessing I would see a more of a flagrant, like, difference, like a really more a bigger difference if there was anyone with me. But so far in the classroom, no. Kids will get over it. Kids will get over the fact that you don't look foreign at one point, and they can really relate to the fact that at least you look like them, even if you're from a foreign country. So that's really good.
Good to hear.
Yeah. So yeah. So in general, yeah, I don't think you should worry too much, depending on how strongly you are affected, though, because I know for some of my friends of Asian descent, it can be harder. So yeah, it can be harder. It depends of how thick your skin is or how well you want to blend in, because there is this, you know, the saying that in Japanese society, if your nails stick out, you need to hammer it up. But I haven't seen it that much because I don't want to see it too. If you see what I mean, and I really want to keep that uniqueness to myself. So this is why I also like don't dye my hair anymore. So yeah, you gotta be prepared to find a way to pop out, to get the message across that, you know, we're all different and it's okay too. So yeah. Yeah.
All right, Norma. Okay, I think we got to wrap it up now so we can move to the next person. Thank you so much
Yes, thank
for
you.
coming
That was
today and
amazing.
talking. I know you're a little bit nervous earlier, but you just talked about everything. You didn't need us to jump in. You're just like, yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Did amazing. So
Yeah.
good.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Thanks
Have a
so
nice
much
day.
for coming today. All right. Bye,
All right.
Norma.
See ya.
You.
Okay, up
All right.
next we have
Go ahead.
fellow Ahime ALT, David, coming
Yes.
to give him a tour of his apartment
Yeah.
and talk about relationships with teachers and students.
Yeah. Let's add him to the stream. Hey, David.
Hey,
What's going
David.
on?
Hey, how you
Change
doing?
your
Thanks for having me.
name.
Doing good.
There you go.
Let's see. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, great. So,
Give us a
hi,
word.
everyone watching. My name's David. I'm a first-year Jet. I live in Ehime Prefecture, which is it's on the island of Shikoku. So if you know where Hiroshima is, go south of that, and that's where I live. And I live in a city called Nihama. If you're from the US, it's definitely a city by anyone's standards. 120,000 people, it's pretty sizable. But in Japan, if you tell someone you're from Nihama, they think you're from the country. Because by Japanese standards, this is absolutely living in the country. So let's gear up for an apartment tour. I'm just going to swap my camera around. And let's get going. All right. So this is where I've been sitting and working. I've got my own stream up in the background. And during the stay-at-home order, I took the time to kind of get everything set up a little bit more nicely. So this is where I do all of my work when I'm at home. Like if I have to take home papers to grade, or if I'm trying to put together some lesson plans. This is probably where I'm going to be doing it. I did have an older desk. It was too small. Now it lives out its life as a little storage area. And this room is kind of like I turned it into an office. And I do have a spare mattress. If I have guests, this is where they sleep. And this room is about 100 square feet, give or take. I do have a closet that is horrendously unclean, and, you know, you do what you can do about that. And of course, we have my little whiskey collection, guarded by my Bari-san plushes, because that's how we do. Moving into the LDK, for those who haven't lived in Japan, LDK is short for living, dining, and kitchen. So I have my kitchen area right here. Apartments don't come with these. This is what will be called a corn row, affectionately, thanks to these corn row burners, they're called. And it's hooked up to a gas line and back. So this is where I cook pretty much all of my meals, except for the ones I eat at school. Sink, fridge, places to store food and other stuff. And this is the kind of living area, various coats and things. And then my little pseudo couch where I sit and enjoy my litany of video game systems in my time off, of which during the pandemic I had a lot of, so I was very grateful to have this little setup. And then if we move through here, you will notice that there is an air conditioning unit here. It can cool my office and my LDK very nicely. But if we go out of the LDK and through into my bedroom, you'll notice that when the door shuts, it can be kind of impossible to get any AC through there. So I had to buy a second air conditioning unit, and that was a lot of money. A lot of money I didn't want to spend. And then, of course, we have laundry and shower area and Japanese bathroom. So there are two other features that I'd like to mention about where I live, because some of the features that this place has are not standard in the other places I live. The first one is the hot water control. You'll notice it's all in Japanese, so if you don't speak Japanese, Google Translate will be your best friend. This will effectively let you heat water for your bath, which is actually incredible. This will change the water temperature to whatever temperature you have it set to, specifically for baths. Like if you push it, it talks to you, and you can see it changes from 45 to 43. And that can be really great if you want to have a bath just waiting for you, but you don't feel like taking one immediately. And the second feature is that actually in the bathroom itself, I have this little control panel on the wall here. You may notice that I have my clothes drying in here, because this is not just a fan. It can be a fan, it can be an AC unit, it can be a heater, or it can be a dryer. And if you're lucky enough to live in a newer apartment, you will be fortunate enough to be able to actually dry clothes in the bathroom. A lot of Japanese places will have a washer, but they won't have a dryer. So if you're not used to air drying your clothes, this is the time to get used to it. Also, that's me. I'm right there. Hey, how's it going? So that is really the apartment tour. Second thing that I want to do during this stream is talk about what it's like at my school. So I work at 3 schools. I work at 2 elementary schools and 1 middle school. I do 3 days at the middle school and 2 days at the elementary schools. And the relationship that I have with my teachers is actually pretty solid. I know that a lot of Jets can have horror stories about being used as human tape recorders and not really being utilized in class. And I've been fortunate enough to not end up in that situation. So I would say the most important thing for when you're dealing with any teacher, regardless of whether you get along with them or if you don't get along with them, would have to be coming to class prepared to do the best job that you can do for whatever that teacher gives you to do. Even if they only want you to be a human tape recorder, you should be the best human tape recorder you can be. Because what I've found is that even if teachers if they don't know what to do with you at first, which was the case for some of my teachers, like they weren't quite sure how I would be interacting with them and the other students. Once they realized that I was fully in the mindset that I was there to assist them and to help them out, they started giving me more things to do. I started getting more freedom. And now I'm regularly the main teacher for some parts of the class. T1, as we call it. T1 main teacher, T2 secondary teacher. And as far as the relationship between teachers and students, I would say that really depends on the teacher. Some teachers are going to be more friendly. Some teachers are going to be more teacherly, for lack of a better word. And the experience is really going to be what you make of it. It's kind of hard to find yourself in a situation where your teachers are going to be saying, don't interact with the students, particularly if you're at an elementary school. They're going to want you playing with the students at lunchtime, and you don't have to do it all the time. But if you can, it's fantastic. And I try to take advantage of doing that at every opportunity. And I think that's more or less it for the stuff that I planned to talk about. I think I hit all of the basics there. So I guess I can start fielding questions about anything that I talked about, or any of those subjects if there was something that you wanted me to say that I didn't get around to. Or I can talk about something I didn't mention now.
Yeah, if you got any questions for David, let us know right now.
Your apartment is also amazing.
Oh yeah. Yes.
Thank you.
Like we were having our own chat and we're just like, dang, he has a nice kitchen. Dang, it's new. It's just really nice.
Yeah, I lucked out.
Amazing.
The apartment was actually built in 2014. I think I'm the third person to live here.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah. To our viewers, good luck getting this apartment, but I feel like the majority of apartments are a downgrade from this, sadly. Best of luck.
In all honesty, this is a very nice apartment. I'm very lucky to live here.
Yeah, I think we all know the whole stuff about like getting old apartments, and sometimes it can be okay and sometimes it's not so good. So getting in newer apartments, quite nice, I think.
Yes, for sure.
Okay.
I have the live stream up in the background, and I've actually been seeing some questions floating through that I'd be happy to answer. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, please.
All right, so let me scroll a little bit. Am I the first Jet to live in this apartment? No, I'm the third one. Is it fairly unusual to have an apartment of this size? It seems quite large. Yes, it is fairly unusual to have an apartment of this size, at least going from the other apartments that I've seen. All the apartments that I've seen do tend to have at least 3 rooms, but the kitchen might only be like half the size of this one. Instead of being a living, dining, and kitchen area, it might only be a kitchen area. So this apartment is somewhere around 400 square feet, and I think it's more common to have one closer to 250 or 300 square feet. So this is an unusually big apartment. I saw an apartment tour a while back that had a button pad like that. One of the buttons was a fire alert that sends out a message to the fire brigade and your neighbors. Is this a common thing? I've never heard of this. That's a pretty cool feature, but my apartment doesn't have it, and none of the apartments of my friends that I've been to have it either. So is it common? Maybe. Is it common among any of the apartments that I've personally been to? No, it's not. Let's see. Would you say you live in a typical apartment for your prefecture? That's a big question. Prefectures are kind of like states, at least at the administrative level. So things are very, very different by prefecture. Things are very, very different by city. Kind of in the same way that if someone lived in Los Angeles and someone else lived in Sacramento, you wouldn't say, oh, do you live in a typical apartment for your state? Maybe California is a bit too big. Let's look at a smaller state like Massachusetts. But even then, if you live in Boston versus somewhere like Brookline versus somewhere like Amherst, it's going to be different all the way around. But would I say I live in a typical apartment for my area? Even then, no, this is unusually nice. Again, I did kind of luck out by getting this place. But having seen the apartments that the other people in my city live in, they are all nice. None of the apartments in my city are run down. I have been to apartments that are kind of on the older side. Maybe they were built 10, 20 years ago. But at least for my area, yeah, things tend to be pretty new. This place just tends to be newer than most. Are apartments typically furnished, or do Jets buy their own furniture? Apartments are typically unfurnished. You'll have whatever your predecessor left behind. My predecessor didn't have very much furniture at all, and some of the stuff he did have was in really bad condition. I kind of just put it all in a box and threw it in my closet so that I wouldn't have to think about it. And I mean, there's probably some stuff in there that the person who replaces me when I leave will appreciate, but I tried to throw away most of what I considered to be junk. When I leave, this big, really nice desk that I'm sitting at, this will stay. The tiny desk back there will stay as well, half because it's a pain to get rid of, but half because, I don't want to leave the other person who comes in out in the lurch. I'll be leaving behind the AC units as well. There's kind of at least out here, not exactly a tradition, but a custom for Jets to offer their predecessor first crack at buying whatever it is that they're leaving here. Obviously, you don't want to force your pred to pay like $500 for $1,000 for all your stuff. But, if you're leaving behind some nice things, it's not out of the question to ask if your predecessor wants to buy some of it from you. And it's also kind of nice as a person moving in to show a little bit of respect to the person who was there before you by buying their stuff from them instead of taking advantage of that. You'll probably get it for free anyway. Did my predecessors leave anything in the apartment for me? Yeah, some of it sucked. Some of it was okay. Most of it sucked. Sorry. Do I spend lots of time on lesson preparation, especially the one where I'm the main teacher? So I'm typically not the main teacher for an entire lesson. I'll teach for a portion of a lesson, and it's usually a plan that the main teacher already came up with. I do spend time on lesson preparation sometimes, making PowerPoints or thinking about grammar points that I want to go over. But I'd say I usually don't spend more than 2 or 3 hours a week doing that. What kinds of things have I done to prove myself as more than a tape recorder? Conversations with my JTE, offering activities, showing my involvements with the students, etc. Big energy, all the time, always 100%. I do talk with my JTE all the time. I do offer activities all the time. I show involvement with the students all the time. So pretty much everything that you said, think about the kinds of things that you would want to do to show that you can field yourself as a main teacher. This is going to be different for every person, almost certainly. For me, all the things that you said, they're all things that I did. And I like to think it went pretty well. I have a really great relationship with all my teachers, and I enjoy it when I do get to be T1. Was it difficult to throw things away due to the garbage system? Have you noticed all the cardboard boxes in my apartment and all the plastic trash that I haven't thrown out? It is very difficult to throw things away. Everywhere you live in Japan will have a different system for taking out your garbage. The only thing they have in common is that they're all terrible. They're all terrible. They all suck. I hate them in every single way possible, but you live with them. And sometimes I'm a naughty gaijin and I throw out metal cans with the rest of my trash because sometimes I'm a trashy person, and I'm sorry for that. Let's see. I think that covers everything that I saw. Jordan, Laura, is there anything good that I should mention that I haven't mentioned already?
Ooh,
I don't know. Do you guys have any other questions? You guys out there who are watching, if you have any more questions for David, let us know like right now, because we're about to wrap things up and get another person in here. So if you got anything else about apartments or anything, speak now or forever hold your peace.
I'll give an early thank you for selling Ehime as a place with very nice apartments. Definitely the best advertising we could have. Hopefully a lot of people will request to come here next year. And we can get everyone in and then maybe slightly disappoint them with houses more like mine. That's fine.
Well, no matter where you end up, the company is going to be great.
Ehime's a good place to be, I think, yes.
Oh, nice. Yamanashi.
Shikoku, please.
Yeah.
All right.
Here.
Let's see. I guess for a final thing to leave you guys with. Not immediately obvious from the stream, but I'm Jewish, and as I suppose, a religious minority in Japan, that doesn't ever give me very much trouble, if any. Teachers tend to be pretty cool about it. I got to give a Hanukkah lesson instead of a Christmas lesson, and that was pretty baller. And students and teachers are usually pretty interested to chit-chat with me about that. They'll say, oh, so do you have an opinion about XYZ? Or, so if you don't celebrate Christmas, what do you do? And if you're open to talking about yourself and exposing people to religions and holidays and experiences that they might not otherwise be familiar with, you're going to have a good time. At least in my experience, I did not run into anybody who was prejudiced against it. Everyone seemed really eager to learn, students, teachers, and administrative staff alike. So that's what I'll leave you with.
It's really good to hear. Yeah.
Okay, well, David, that's all the time we got for you right now. Thanks so much for coming and hanging out with us and showing us your apartment, your really awesome apartment. I think all of us are kind of jealous. Like, seriously, we're just in our own chat. We're just like, like, oh my God, apartments, like, Basically.
Well, I hope this was a good interview, and thanks for having me again.
So much, man.
Yes,
all right.
Thank you so much.
He has outnumbered me.
All right. David out. Bye-bye.
See ya.
Okay.
And also, Jane, hopefully you get a Hime. I'd love to see pretty much anyone else here. More people in a Hime, please. Shikoku needs people.
Oh, probably that's true, yeah. I was going to say, before I forgot to say for Norma too, earlier, but also for David. So if you guys have any more questions for either of them, then just leave some more comments, and I'm sure that they would love to answer those questions, and they're very kind people. So, okay. Oh, I need to take that off the screen. I'm a terrible tech person here. Like, don't trust me with this. Okay. All right, Jordan, who we got next up?
Next up, we have Prima from Oita, who is going to talk about settling into her place when she arrives.
Here we
and
go.
Hobbies outside of work.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey, Prima.
Hi.
How's it going?
Good morning, or not good morning. Morning for me because I woke up a little late.
Weekend morning, it's fine.
It's afternoon. The noon bell rung here. It's definitely, yeah. Okay.
Hello.
What you talk about? Yeah, we can
so today I am going to be talking about what do you call it? How to settle into your apartment and like your general placement, and also kind of what's like suggestions on things to do like after work and like in your free time.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I just like just go ahead and talk, or if you want us to ask you some questions or anything, like go for it.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Sounds good. I might hold off on all questions at the end. So yeah, just keep asking questions and I'll answer them at the end. So first of all, when you first arrive at your placement, I'm just reading off of my notes here. So you're probably going to meet people from your BOE, in my case, I met a Japanese guy, and he is kind of like the overseer for all the ALTs. I'm in Oita City, by the way, so I live in more of a small city area, so like we have things like Starbucks and stuff. So you might not be lucky to get Starbucks, but anyway, uh, and then you'll also probably meet your supervisor on the first day when you get to your placement. And there was also a resident advisor who came to meet me as well, who is like an older Jet Senpai ALT. Some of the things that you'll probably have to do on your first day is your supervisor will go and take you to get your bank account set up. You might get your Incon as well, your Hanko, which is like a stamp they use in Japan, and it's very important because you will have to stamp a lot of documents once in a while. I have to use it every day to stamp my attendance at school. I know I am able to hold on to my own stamp, my ink on, but I know other ALTs, they have to leave it at school, so it really depends. If you have not done so already when you get to your placement, you should probably try to get your cell phone situation set up as soon as possible, because, just you might need it if you need to like search up things. What else? You might not have internet access when you get here, so kind of your phone will be your only method of like using internet for a while. If you want to set up Wi-Fi in your place, like I did, you'd have to go through that process separately. I know some places like there are some apartments that do offer like Wi-Fi included. Really depends. I think it would be a good idea to what do you call it? It would be a good idea to figure out how transportation is gonna go for you every day. Obviously, because you have to make a commute. My first 2 months, I did not have a car. I am allowed to have a car, so I did get a car within like a month and a half or so. But at first, I was taking 2 buses to get to my main school. And I had to also take a train to go to my visit school. So it would be very helpful and very wise for you to get all the addresses for your school and also your own apartment or house address, and like use Google Maps and like kind of get that schedule down and figure out how much it's going to cost you to take the bus or train or whatever. If you are walking or biking to your workplace, that's awesome. But for me, it's just really difficult to go to school every day. Like traffic itself for me is like about half an hour just driving. So a car is really, really useful for me. Um, and that's another thing. Definitely, if you were planning on getting a car, you should try to get that stuff set straight away. Some of the things I wish I had known is like, a good car dealer. Also, things like car insurance, which I had no idea about before. And also like, what do you call it? What else? Insurance, car, like how to make payments on your car and things like that. And then what else? Now moving on to apartment stuff. So obviously at the end of your first day, when you arrive at your placement, they're gonna leave you in your apartment. There. So I want you to be prepared for like shock, because I have seen sob stories, people getting angry, like after their first day and seeing their apartment, how torn up it is and everything. So, like I just want you guys to have like mental preparation that your apartment or place you're gonna stay at might not look the way you expected it to be, I highly encourage you to ask, if you have a predecessor, ask about, like, more pictures and a video tour and things like that. Those are really helpful. What else? If you're gonna be in Tokyo, I would say you're gonna have to find your own apartment. So if not, that's not the deal for you. What else? So in my case, I'm gonna talk about my experience. My place is really old. I live in the teachers' quarters, and what do you call it? Um, in my case, I think my predecessor did a generally good job at not leaving trash in the apartment. But in the case for more than a few ALTs I know, they had predecessors leave a lot of trash in their apartment, and things were not working and things like that. People were crying, people got very angry, people wanted to move out, things like that. So just be prepared for the fact that you might have to be throwing out a couple bags of trash within the first few months that you get here. And speaking of trash, please get comfortable with the trash schedule. If possible, you should ask your predecessor or like some other person in your placement for a trash schedule, and get comfortable with when your trash days are, when you're going to throw out like plastics, when you're going to throw out paper, things like that. And what do you call it? Get advice about like what specific trash bags you have to buy, things like that. Also, another thing I would recommend you ask your predecessor about, or something like that, if there are any machines that are going to be left behind, for example, washing machine, or your ofuro, or bathtub, or like aircon, I highly recommend you get like some like manual on it, or like a picture of the remote control or the panels, things like that. Get those translated straight away and figure out how to use them. The reason why I'm saying this is because I did not know, so at least in the US, I have no idea, but I did not know that the air cons here had heating capabilities. So I was using a space heater for the first month of winter and I was freezing to death. So now I know. So anyway, definitely, get an idea about how to use the aircon, get an idea about how to use the washing machine, things like that. What else? It would be very helpful if you figure out like where, like, to buy things, like, if possible, ask your pred for like a list of like places to go shopping for like your household supplies, bedding. Like, I had to figure all of these out by myself. Where to go for like kitchen stuff, where to go for bedding, kitchen stuff, and bathroom stuff. Also get like information about grocery stores. I'll give you a tip. If you want cheaper groceries, go to like one of those discount grocery stores. They have if you have a discount store around, like if you're I live in like a smaller city, so maybe we have those. I guess in Naka you might not have those. You would just go to like a local grocer maybe. But yeah, I think you should figure out where to go get groceries straight away. Because if you don't, you might end up having to, like, I don't know, live off of kombini food for a while, and I don't want you to live like that. So, yeah. What else? If you don't bring a lot of clothing with you, I brought enough clothing with me, and I don't like shopping for clothes much, but if you need to go shopping for clothes, you should probably get that figured out, like if there's any clothing stores near you and shopping malls. Another thing I highly recommend is go and check out any secondhand shops around your area. If you have secondhand shops, you can get like electronics, they have clothing, they have books, a lot of things. Furniture as well. If you're not willing to like pay a pretty penny for new furniture, you can always go and check out the secondhand shops. They sometimes have some good things. What else? So at your school, um, so one other thing I want to kind of mention with your school is like when you get to your school, get comfortable with your class schedule. Figure out. I made a whole like really nice schedule on Canva with the schedule I got for the school year, and I put it on my desk, and makes it really nice and organized for me. I know when to expect, like, what's going to happen the next day and things like that. Figure out your school class resources, your school supplies that are available to you at school. Figure out like printer stuff. How can you print stuff out? Do you have access to a color printer? My school does not have easy access to a color printer. I had to get special permission from the vice principal for that. So, yeah, and this is because I work at a senior high school, so they don't really, they're not crazy about coloring and stuff like that. So, what else? So I don't know if this might not be the case for everyone, but when I inherited my desk at school from the previous ALT, a lot of trash was left behind at the desk. So be prepared to possibly have to clean out your desk. It gave me a lot of peace to have a clean desk after like getting rid of all the trash that was in the drawers. And this was not my this was my grand predecessor, so who left stuff and it wasn't cleaned out. But anyway, besides that, also figure out how to pay your bills. Figure out the whole bill schedule. Highly recommend that because it's not like I'm from the US. It's not, I usually pay all my bills online, and, I had to figure out things here. What do you call it? So for example, you can go to an ATM. Like I'm with Japan Post Bank, which is connected to the Japan Post, the National Post Office system. So I go to the ATM and I pay like my internet bill there right at the ATM machine. You can also pay like bills at the convenience store as well. My rent is a specific situation in which I pay the prefectural board of education. So I have to go to a bank to pay that in person. It's really weird, but those things you should get straightened out. Also figure out like phone apps that, what do you call it? Phone apps that are useful. I use Google Translate every single day. The camera feature is very, very useful. And also, I use Google Maps a lot, especially for finding places to, eat or something like that, and discovering new places. So I'm going to get to that right now. So we're going to move on to how to use your time outside of work. So depending on your placement and how much work you have, you might end up having a lot of spare time, especially on the weekends, after school, even like during your downtime at work. So starting off with after school. So my contract, I get off at 3:45 p.m. And what do you call it? I have some time before I go home. I usually like to like go to a cafe or like a nice restaurant. Not all the time, but like once in a while. Because like my hobby is to go try out new places. I'm a huge foodie, and I like trying out different places in the city here, and different cafes. So sometimes once in a while I'll go and treat myself and like drive to a cafe nearby that I've not tried before. And then I also I'm also a Yelp elite, so there is nothing on Oita on Yelp. So sometimes I will write like restaurant and like cafe reviews on Yelp, and that's kind of how I spend a lot of my free time. And then what else? There are a couple of shopping malls here, so I will once in a while go like window shopping and stuff like that, just to discover new places in the city. Um, and what else? Um, I don't really partake in this much, but a lot of other ALTs, go partying, clubbing, drinking, stuff like that. Obviously, if you live in a more Inaka countryside area, you're not going to have access to those very easily. So in that case, I have a couple of suggestions. Obviously, you can pick up new hobbies or like continue your current hobbies, reading. You can play video games or like start streaming and stuff like that. I don't know if you're interested in that. You can do like volunteer pro bono work. What I'm talking about is like kind of offering services like for free. Like, for example, sometimes I really enjoy like resume and cover letter writing, or like helping people out with their like college or graduate school applications. So sometimes I look at those, on a pro bono basis. I also really love traveling. It's one of the big reasons why I came to Japan is to travel. Last winter break, I went to Southeast Asia, Singapore, Thailand, and Malaysia. A lot of the time, now that, because of the virus, I haven't really done anything, but a lot of my free time, I do end up like doing travel planning for myself. And what else? I also like visiting local places like parks and shrines, temples in the area. Okay.
There's my mic. Okay. So we're about out of time now. So if you want to answer any of the questions, I don't know if you can see it.
Sure.
Yeah.
I do see it. I do. All right. So I'm going to start from, I'll try to answer as much as possible very quickly. Okay, how easy is it to get to your closest larger city? Let's see. So my closest larger city in Kyushu, that would be Fukuoka for me. It takes, if you are taking tolls, like using a car and you're paying for tolls, it takes 2 hours. However, if you're not going to pay for tolls and you want to get there, more cheaply, it takes 4 hours. I think the best option is to take the bus there. There is something called highwaybus.com, and you can buy tickets there. You can get like a package deal, buy a couple of tickets for like much cheaper. So all in all, it's not that easy. So I don't think it's not realistic to say you can go there every weekend. Like, I can't go there every weekend. It's very difficult. But I've been there maybe once every 2 or 3 months to Fukuoka. Let's see. Giant hornets. I have not seen those yet, which is good because I don't want to. I'm not good with bugs. You keep your place clean and you will not have to deal with bugs. And also buy like bait. Like, there are these like square bait things you can get at like Daiso or like any home improvement store. Put those all around, like the outside or inside. I put cockroach bait indoors, and then I put like mukade bait outdoors. So yeah. Okay, let's see. How is travel like from your home country to Tokyo and then Tokyo to your placement? Okay, very much depends on where you're going to be placed. In my case, I'm from the San Francisco Bay Area, so we just took a nonstop plane from San Francisco Airport to Haneda. and it depends every year. Sometimes it's Haneda, sometimes it's Narita. And then in my case, because I live in Kyushu, which is really, really far south from Tokyo, I took another plane from Haneda to Oita Airport. And if you live closer, like I know one of my friends in Fukui. I think she took a bus there. Some people took trains there. Really depends. But yeah, that's how it is. And then what else? Okay, phone plan stuff. Okay, let's see. I've heard people have gotten their phone plans during Tokyo orientation. Do you recommend any ways to get phone plan? Yes. Okay. Okay. So there's, I think if you haven't gotten any information on that, but the two main ones that they send you info on from the JET program are Sakura Mobile and Mobile. And you can get all that information online. And I think they even you don't even have to wait for the email. You can just look it up, and they should have the JET program discounts on there as well. In my case, I did get mobile set up for the first week or so, just because I was a little desperate to get a phone plan. But I quickly, and I highly recommend this to anybody, I quickly switched over to Line Mobile, which is kind of what do you call those things? The third-party phone providers. I find it a lot cheaper. My phone bill is cheaper and everything. Line Mobile, I highly recommend. If you're gonna take Line Mobile, buy the SIM card on Amazon Japan, and they will send you the SIM and you get it set up, and it's cheaper than going to an actual store and getting it set up. It's the only thing is that if you don't know any Japanese, it might be difficult for you to get that set up. I do know enough Japanese that it was not too difficult for me to set up. But in my case, I really like it because they give you, if you get the right plan, they will give you social media access, unlimited, and it's not gonna cut from your data. And then the other thing is that I do buy my own pocket Wi-Fi separately, because I need it for accessing internet at school. I like to use my personal laptop for work at school, and I don't like using the school laptop. So there's that. Plus my school's Wi-Fi kind of limits places you can access online. Okay. What will we have on our stamp? Depends. So in my case, my last question. Okay, got it. So a stamp, in my case, my supervisor got kanji in my last name written. So my last name, it's Charifu, and she found kanji symbols that were really nice and had good meaning in it, and made a really nice hanko for me. But I don't think that is the case for everyone. Some people will have it written in katakana. I think it really depends on what your supervisor decides on. What else? That's it. Yeah, I guess that's my last question there. But if you need to reach out with any other questions, please reach out to me. I'm very happy to answer other questions later on. I don't know if we're going to provide any contact info later, but whatever. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry to cut you off, Prima. Just
no, it's okay.
Yeah, and I know there's so many questions. There's so many that we want to know about. But yeah, thank you so much for answering what you could answer.
Yeah, of course.
So many questions came in at the end, and it's just oh my God, how was I going to answer this?
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks so much. You gave so much really useful advice. I'm sure everybody who's watching, who's going to come, has definitely picked up some really practical stuff from everything you've been through.
I sure hope so.
Yeah, and again, guys, if you have any more questions for Prima, just leave a comment, and then maybe Prima will be very nice. She seems like a nice person, and will reply to them. And can help you out. And there's also some people right now. Norma, I think, is there, and I think Sarah's there. Who's Sarah? Who will be joining us shortly. So everybody's like answering some questions. David's been in there. So thank you to the people who are also there right now answering some questions. So all right, Prima, thanks so much. Enjoy your Starbucks. What'd you
Thank
get?
you.
What'd you get?
I got an iced caramel macchiato.
Nice.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks, everyone.
Well, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Okay.
See
Bye.
you.
Okay.
Okay. Next up, we have Sarah, an alumni jet from Yamanashi, talking about
Yes.
kitchens.
Yes, Sarah, who is my friend. And now we will outnumber you, Jordan.
Haha.
Oh, Ehime
Haha.
is
Now
used
it is
to it.
Yamanashi dominance.
Right as
Now
you
I'm
said,
used to the
come
real
off.
Shikoku feeling. Yeah.
the real life situation.
Yeah.
No, Yamanashi is also Naka, so
It is. We were
Yeah.
just having this discussion in the comments of like, is
yeah.
it Yamanaka? It's Yamanaka.
It is Yamanaka. We have that.
Yamanaka, Inaka. Anyway, here's Sarah, who is not.
Hi.
Hang on, let me change your banner really quick. I'm
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
there we
believe
go.
in you.
Thank
Hi.
you. Hi.
Yeah, I am Sarah. I do live in Yamanashi. I put down as 8th year jet, which is funny, but obviously not true. I did 5 years of jet here in Yamanashi, and now I am a direct hire ALT at a different board of education. I also may or may not be 3 ducks. We'll find out. But yeah, I know in the groups we've had a lot of questions about Japanese kitchens. They're weird. Cooking in Japan. How do? So I thought I would welcome you guys into my kitchen and talk about it a little bit. I'm not a chef, but I'm a home cook / baker / incredibly amateur bartender. So yeah, I wanted to talk about Japanese kitchens and how the setup is a little bit different than at least what I'm used to in America. And ooh, I lost an earbud there. Let's see if we can retrieve it. We can. Technical difficulties. All right, I'm going to turn us around so we can see the kitchen. There we go. So yeah, welcome to my kitchen. I have a large kitchen size-wise because we were talking about LDK, DK earlier. I basically turned my entire LDK into just a kitchen. So the first thing that's kind of a little bit weird is there isn't a lot of counter space in Japanese kitchens, which can be a little bit difficult at first. I have a fairly standard insert for a Japanese kitchen where you basically have a place to put a stove and then a very sad amount of counter space and a single sink. But you can deal with this. You can make your own counter space. They sell a lot of these kind of cart or like movable sort of non-built-in kitchen places. So I have a 2-burner, which I think is fairly normal. I know some smaller apartments, you might only have room for 1, but I think it's fairly standard to have 2. I have a reasonably large for Japan fridge, but it's definitely still smaller than, like, for example, the fridge at my parents' house in America. And I think the biggest question a lot of people have had is, can you bake? Because as you can see, under my stove is not an oven. It's a cabinet full of pans and things. But you can bake. You can get an oven. This is mine. It is basically a glorified toaster oven, but it does the job. It goes up to about 230 centigrade. And I've made cheesecakes in it. I've made pizza and cookies. You can really do anything. And Also, big surprise, my microwave is also an oven. So it does what it can. I have notifications coming in. And on here. Let me see if I can switch back to me. And we'll go back over and see what people are saying. Do we have questions? Grocery shopping. Yeah, I have lots of funny experiences from the Japanese grocery. When I first came here, and I could like read and speak a little bit of Japanese, but I once went to the grocery and thought I was buying like small pads of butter. And when I got home, they were cheese and they said cheese and I could read cheese, but just had not. But yeah, I think the selection of things is smaller, but there are, like it's not particularly difficult, I don't think, to grocery shop. We have there's a huge like vegetable selection. It's a lot of seasonal vegetables and fruits. It's good to get used to cooking seasonally because if you're buying out of season, produce gets really expensive. But of course, meats and seafood is big here. Buying more Western style food can be a little bit of a challenge. For example, in my local grocery, like there's like maybe a taco kit sometimes, but you can do import store shopping. Like I know Caldi is the big one here, and also in other areas, Jupiter is a popular import store. They'll sell things like more international foods, like different pastas and sauces and beans. I once drove all the way across the prefecture to get a can of refried beans because I just needed it. I don't know, what else do we have question-wise? Someone's asking about like recipes and cookbooking. I mostly get my recipes online, and I do some Western recipes and sort of just do the conversion. But there are Japanese recipe sites that can be really helpful. Cookpad is probably the most well-used Japanese recipe site, and it's good. I find all of my recipes for like umeshu on there because I also make like fruit liquor and that sort of thing. But yeah, if you want to do Japanese recipes, I recommend Cookpad. But with a little bit of math, you can still use all of the recipes that you're used to. You just have to make sure that you get the right temperature converted and see like that sort of thing is right. What else do we have question-wise?
I know there's some questions they're asking you about direct hire, Sarah.
Oh yeah, I can definitely also talk about that, sort of pivoting from Jet into direct hire. What I did is in my last year of Jet, I sort of started just putting feelers out into the community here in Yamanashi, and I basically let people know that I was looking for a job. And I got the job that I have now through a friend of mine who works at the same board of education. So it was basically like, like my city is hiring. So I put in an application, I sent them my resume. I had the classic like 4-person Japanese panel interview, which is terrifying. It's like the Jet interview, but suddenly all in Japanese. But I think, unfortunately or fortunately, it is a lot of networking. It's like knowing people in your area that work for BOEs who do direct hire, and then they can sort of let you know when there's an opening. I know you can also, especially if you're looking in another area, I know a lot of people get on Gaijin Pot for job listings. I went to the JET career fair my last year, which I also thought was very helpful. I applied for and was interviewing with a couple of other jobs, some English teaching and some non-English teaching that I found through the career fair. So I think that is also a good option, especially if you want to look for jobs that are not necessarily in your area, or if you want to go to a bigger city. I think that those are good resources. It's good. It's definitely a possible route that you can take if you want to stay in Japan.
Okay, on that topic, somebody else have a question. Another Sarah, actually. So
love to see a fellow Sarah.
Yes, she says, with an all-Japanese interview for direct hire, how much Japanese do you know personally that got you through that interview?
Yeah, I am in N3 if you squint. So I have very medium level Japanese. I'm conversational, but not particularly business or professional. But I think that when you're going for an English teaching or an ALT job, they're not necessarily expecting a business level of Japanese. What I did in that situation is rather the BOE sort of sent me a list of like topics or questions that they wanted to discuss in the interview before I went, which I was very grateful for because it let me do some research. I made some note cards with vocabulary that I was less familiar with, but that I thought would come up in the interview, things like rent subsidy and like contract terms. So I sort of had a cheat sheet to refer to for doing it in Japanese. But when it's an English teaching job, I think they're often more understanding if you have a more conversational level of Japanese than in one or like very business professional level. It's generally okay, I think.
Awesome. Yeah. I don't think there's any more questions about hire, like direct hire, but somebody else asked, it was about groceries. Oh, about budgeting for food. Groceries. Do you have any advice about that kind of thing?
I don't have really good advice for that, except if you go to the grocery about the last hour or sometimes 2 hours that they're open, a lot of stuff goes on discount. I don't know how much, like 30 to 50% off produce I've picked up just by going to, for example, a grocery that closes at 9 o'clock at like 7:30. It's half price. Bento time, like the boxed lunches will all be on discount if you need something for lunch the next day. And yeah, if you're willing to go to the grocery and buy whatever is on sale, you can definitely get some very good deals, especially on produce and meat.
Very, very true. Okay, and then we have a couple of questions about your hair color. People are complimenting you on your hair. And
thank you. Yeah. I made it myself.
And then Norma also talked about hair color in her session, but somebody Jaded Reader asked, what seems to be the overall reaction to your hair color? How do schools feel about dyed hair? What's your own experience?
I haven't gotten any strong reactions. I do dye my hair. It's not natural. But I came into my job with this hair color and have more or less maintained the same hair color throughout. So I think if you want to have a color of hair that is not yours, I recommend just coming with it. Because I think when you try to switch it up after you come here is when you're going to get a stronger reaction. For example, not to out anyone, but one of my friends, she dyed the underside of her hair pink. a couple of years ago, and the BOE was not pleased and asked her to dye it back. So that sort of thing definitely does happen. But I think especially if you're going for anything in the realm of natural colors, you're not going to get a negative reaction. I have had people comment on my hair color, but I think generally in a positive way.
Okay, and another topic actually, Kwansu87 asks, is this apartment your original apartment you moved into when you entered JET program? And in that regard, if anyone has insight, what goes into moving into a new place? And I know your story, so yeah, you can talk about this.
Yeah, I have tons of insight on moving into a new place. When I was on JET, I lived in another city. So, and also I lived in public teacher housing that was owned by the city. So I doubly couldn't stay there. And I did have to move. What I did is I got in contact with a realtor, which is generally how it's done in Japan. Like you can look online for apartments by yourself, which I did. But once you're ready to move, the done thing is to go through a realtor. So I contacted him. I sent him some listings of apartments in the area I was moving to that I was interested in, and my budget, and also sort of the amount of space that I was looking for and what kind of space I wanted. And he took me around to several different places. And then once I decided that I wanted to live in this apartment, I put in an application with the company who owns it. And I had to like tell them like, yeah, this is where I work, this is what my income is going to be. And a big thing in Japan when you're renting your own apartment is having a guarantor who like kind of vouches for you and is responsible for your rent if you default on it in some way or if you leave. And in my case, the Board of Education in my city is my guarantor, which if yours is willing to do that, looks very good on an application. But you can also have a personal guarantor, a person that you know who is willing to do that for you, or there are companies that are professional guarantors that basically you pay them, you pay a company to back you up, and sort of like insurance. And as far as physical moving, there are moving companies here, which I think is a fairly common way that people here move, but I sort of did American style. I rented a big truck. I got kind friends, including Laura, actually, to help load up my old apartment, and I drove it down to my new place, and we unloaded here, and then I bought everybody pizza. So there are moving companies, but I did it American style, and I rented basically like a small U-Haul from just like a regular car rental service, and we did it that way.
Had to chuck your bed out the window.
We did throw my bed out the window.
Damn.
It was very exciting and scary.
It was a good time.
They somehow got it up there, but we sure couldn't get it down.
Yeah.
Magic. Just magic got it up there, I guess.
I don't know, man. It's a mystery.
All right, Sarah, so we're going to wrap it up a little bit here and ask for any last questions from people. Let's see if there's anything. Okay, the other Sarah who's here, she asks, has anyone chose to help out with after school clubs and spending time with student clubs as possible? Interviewer said it's possible most teachers would love it because they're so busy. Do you have any experience with clubs? Of course, you've been junior high. I know because you've been junior high, and with junior high, it's not.
Yeah, the junior high clubs can get pretty serious.
Right.
I've popped in on clubs, just to like, I'm gonna go bother the band kids today, or that sort of thing. But I'm sorry, I don't personally have experience in like joining a club or becoming like directly involved, though I do know that you can do that if it's something that you're interested in. You basically, I think, just have to get on good terms with the teacher who's running the club and then be like, hey, I would like I know I played baseball. Can I come help practice with the baseball kids? And as long as you're on good terms with the baseball coach, it's probably acceptable.
Yeah, I saw Prima's been answering in there too, and
Excellent.
yeah, so she's senior high school. I think that applies a lot more to senior high school ALTs. So.
It
Yeah.
may. It may.
In my experience, I haven't joined a club fully, but pretty much if there's an English club at a senior high school, they will rope you in a few times. I've got a debate club and a recitation club. And I also am essentially the cheer squad for my Naginata girls. So I go there quite often.
I love it. I wish I had Naginata girls.
They're amazing. They just love stabbing things. And good for them.
Who doesn't? Who doesn't,
I
though?
know.
So fun. Okay. All right. So any last questions, you guys out there? Any at all? Let us know right now because we're going to wrap it up pretty soon here so we can go about our days and you guys can possibly go to bed because it's probably late where you guys are. So
just weird questions, we'll take them. It's weird question o'clock.
Yeah. If you've got any questions about coming from the Southern Hemisphere, I can also handle them. It's a hard shift, I will tell you that much.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
Sarah and I are both from the same area, so we can't really.
Gym games is interesting. I think I know a few people in senior high who do rather physical games. I do like a few throwing games and stuff like that in the classroom. But if you've got a really flexible small class, you can definitely try and move spaces, or just do stuff at lunch.
Yeah, I've definitely pushed all of the desks to the back of the room and had more open classroom game space before.
Yeah,
I once turned the entire classroom into a giant twister board, so that was an interesting day.
Nice.
Yeah, a lot of questions about physical activities will be class size. My classes can be, I have a few of 1 kid, 2 kids, so we can do a lot of games with them, but other schools have 43 kids per class, so a lot of physical activities are just asking for trouble. I'm sure junior high is slightly smaller, but still a lot to handle.
Junior high classes can also get big. I have a smaller school where I have classes of 4 to 10 students, and then I have some classes, that are pretty much maxed out to 40, so.
As for placements, I don't think we can really make any comment.
None of us know that.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think
with nowhere on the Facebook group, we don't know any more than you guys do. No. So, yeah.
And considering how many comments end up on Reddit with this person said this and it's a fact, we're scared to make any assumptions or anything. Oh, it might happen. No.
Yeah.
I don't think the BOEs have that yet either, though. I'm not 100% sure.
I heard one thing, and I don't remember where it was, but someone did say that they were set to get the information about the new jets coming this week, but I can't remember where in Japan that was. So perhaps it's just that one contracting organization. Doesn't mean it's everyone's, doesn't mean anything has been decided yet. I know the only thing we can say for sure is that they did ask us jets who are leaving, so like me as a 5th year, and then also people who were choosing to leave, they did ask us, do you want to stay longer? And some people said yeah, and some people said no. So I think with that, they were trying to be like, we're just trying to limit the number of people coming in, if at all possible, due to the Rona, and safety.
I'm sure they have a lot of people backing out on the incoming side as well. So
not a lot of people have said anything about it, but there might be just people who haven't said anything who have done it. So yeah. But if you're still shortlisted, then just hang in there. And if you're planning to come, hang in there and just wait. It's coming. It's coming. It's the George R. R. Martin from South Park. It's coming, I promise. But this time it actually is.
It's hopefully coming faster than the next Ice and Fire book.
Yeah. So yeah.
I can say for Ehime, the senior high school BOE still hasn't confirmed where new ALTs will be going. Like we still, on Monday, we will decide what schools get ALTs. We're having a huge hiring wave. We're getting 10 new ALTs, taking us up to 24. But they still have not confirmed who they will be teaching with and what they think they know where they're based, but they still haven't worked out visit schools. So probably if they still haven't worked out where you will be teaching, they don't know who will be teaching there. So I'm skeptical of the idea that you will wake up on Monday morning and find out where you're going. Would bloody love to see it, but it's Japan. The bureaucracy moves slower than you could possibly imagine.
Yeah.
So I know it's frustrating, but
don't like to give out information until they know it for sure, which can be a good thing because then you know that that's the information that you're getting instead of just like, well, it might be this thing, and then it turns out not to be this thing. But that can also be frustrating because then you're just waiting for information constantly. So.
And additionally, sorry.
Oh, no, it's unrelated. It's the next thing.
I was just going to say, and additionally, remember, placements going out is no confirmation of when new ALTs will be arriving. JET seems to be moving forward, presuming people will be arriving in the September date, but the world says otherwise at the moment. So it would be really good to get the information out, but a placement may mean this year, next year, or never, honestly. We just do not know anything at this point, and I really wish we could give more information, but it's just not out there.
Right. Okay, so moving on, we'll finish up here. Quansu87 does ask about any experiences with earthquakes or floods or typhoon, and anything to keep in mind with being a foreigner in Japan, aside from what we experience at home. I guess in that case, talking about earthquakes and floods and typhoons.
I avoided the huge floods in Hiroshima and Hime by I came later the month they happened, so I was here for most of the recovery from that. That took down the train line in southern Hime, and that was a nightmare for organising orientation because people had to take the bus instead of the train. We didn't have a huge lot of issues. The biggest problem is that a lot of students were really affected. We lost a few students in the flood, sadly, and a lot of ALTs had to deal with going to a school where there were 2 less kids the next day. But yeah, for a foreigner, I mean, reach out to your PAs and RAs or whoever your support network is in your area if you think something has happened, something's happening, and hopefully you'll be involved, if you're at a senior high school at least, in the telephone trees where teachers call each other to confirm safety. But probably in bigger cities, it's a completely different situation, so I can't comment there. Anything in Yamanashi?
Not really. We don't have very bad earthquakes, I feel like, here. Knock on wood.
Didn't you guys evacuate in the big typhoon last year?
Yeah.
Quote unquote evacuate.
It's not funny, but also it was funny.
It was kind of funny.
Because for here, the typhoon wasn't that bad. We're a landlocked prefecture, right? So we didn't get the worst of it, like as opposed to places like Tokyo, Chiba, and stuff. They got it really bad. But here we're like in the mountainy area and stuff, and it's not as bad. But let's just say some people here were a little bit freaked out by it, and that made me freaked out by it. So a few people and I evacuated to the elementary school that's up here, and it was sort of pointless because like nobody was up there except for like 3 old people and their caretaker, and they were very kind though. But the rescue people, they just kind of looked at us like, "What are you doing here?" And they said, "Where do you live?" And we're like, "Over there." And they said, and they just gave us like emergency blankets and things to lay on, and they gave us emergency rations. The old people and their caretaker gave us like, I forget, what did she give us? Yeah, she gave us some inari sushi. Like she had homemade inari sushi. She's just like, "Here, have some inari sushi." And we're like, "Thank you." And then it stopped raining. We were there from about like 7 p.m. until like 9 p.m. because it stopped raining. So it was funny, actually.
Actually, I do have a couple of general recommendations about, I guess, disaster preparedness or disaster situations. one, I was here a few years ago when Snowmageddon happened, and there was I think in Hokuto we got 150 centimeters of snow over the course of a day or two. So basically, I could not leave my apartment, or at least the parking lot, for 4 or 5 days, I think, until the snowplow came through. So that sort of thing does happen, and like typhoons and that sort of thing. So it's good to make sure that you always have kerosene in the winter. Like don't run low on kerosene when snow's in the forecast. Make sure that you have a few days worth of food and water, that you don't need electricity to cook in case your electricity goes out. Like that sort of thing is just a good general tip. I think a lot of people like to have a backpack packed in case they need to evacuate, though, as Laura was saying, in a landlocked area, that's much less likely. And the other point I want to make is, at least in our area, they do all of the disaster announcements on big loudspeakers through the town in Japanese, which can be difficult to hear, just to hear them clearly at all, because they're old and terrible, and B, they can be difficult to understand if you don't speak Japanese well. So if that is worrisome for you or causes anxiety, I think what we often do, at least, is we have group chats for the areas in which we live with all the ALTs in it, and probably someone in there speaks reasonable Japanese. So if you're worried about an announcement that you don't understand, I would get on chats with your friends and be like, hey, I heard something, I'm not sure what's going on, like, did anyone understand it, do we need to do something?
Definitely.
And we definitely support each other in that way, I think.
Yeah, and I think additionally, for being aware of what is going to impact your local area, at least in Ehime, at you'll all do Tokyo orientation, then you'll do prefectural orientation. And at Ehime, we'll go through the things that are most likely, which are floods and, of course, things like minor earthquakes. And we also have the nuclear power plant, so we will do some run-throughs of what will happen if things go very wrong in Ikata, which probably will not. But we'll do things that are dangerous locally, and the same thing will happen in most prefectures. They'll take through what you'll need in a go bag, in most likely in cases in your prefecture, and what is likely to happen and what is almost impossible to happen, just so you can have a more realistic idea of, especially for listening to those sort of things, what is probably happening in your prefecture. So it'll be very, Japan has a lot going on, but you'll be taught what is more likely in your area after you arrive.
Yep, definitely.
That's definitely true.
Yep. Just to throw it out there, typhoon season, at least around here, is usually October. So right now it's rainy season, which is different than typhoon season. And yeah, Japan has 5 million seasons. And
yeah, don't listen to the 4-season lie.
No, it has much more than that. So yeah, so we're not getting typhoons right now, but we're getting a lot of rain. And then we'll have a period of like super hot soup summer. Not hot girl summer, hot soup summer, because you're walking.
Soup summer.
Yeah, and then it'll be like okay for a while, and then typhoons. So yeah, so if you guys do come in September, you're gonna probably get a little bit of good weather and then typhoons. So just be prepared for a lot of rain. You'll be okay. Everything will be okay, but just be aware that might happen.
The good thing about typhoon season, in comparison to the rainy season, is it is less consistently rainy. It's just like, here, have a typhoon.
Right.
Whereas rainy season is like, here, have a month and a half of 80% rainy days.
Learn to love the rain. Yep.
Learn to love the rain.
But yeah, typhoons always happen on the weekends. They're very like that. Yeah, it doesn't matter. They never happen on weekdays.
I never get out of school for the typhoon. It just ruins my plans.
Yep.
Every farewell party or welcome party or any party that is going to happen outdoors in pretty much any time of the year will be cancelled by a typhoon. I promise you that. Prepare to go bowling in
Your school never will.
Nope.
Never.
Or for snow. There's only been a few times we've ever canceled for snow.
And you live in a fairly snowy place.
Yes. Yeah. It's okay. Oh, on that topic, just I know we've been talking over time, but yeah, if you're worried about snow, then if you do live in a snowy place, for example, I live in a snowy place and I live on a mountain. I live on top of a mountain. My school, however, is down the mountain, and so a lot of the time we'll get lots of snow up here and not down there. So my school's pretty cool about like, hey, if you cannot get out of your house, then please call us and you don't have to come to school. So yeah, I mean, I don't think this will apply to everybody, you know, it's this is a weird situation I have, but just in case, you know, if your school knows where you live and they're like, yeah, we get a lot of snow, then, you know, they'll be okay. And, you know, if you can't get out of the house, just call them and, you know, maybe they'll just let you not go into school.
My mom, who is watching the live stream, reminded me of a very important point when I was once stuck on a train for 10 hours in a typhoon. Trains here will stop on a dime if they smell bad weather. So yes. do be concerned if you're commuting or traveling by train, if there's a typhoon in the forecast or a lot of snow, the trains are not an all-weather situation and they may shut down with very little notice. So it's important to like not be scared of that. You might just be stuck on a train for a while or not be able to get where you're going, but that is something to be aware of.
And the worst part is you will normally be soaked to the bone while sitting on that train, which is definitely the worst part.
Okay. All right. So I think that's about it. People are just mostly talking about like typhoons and things at the moment. So, okay. Yeah. So we'll end it here, guys. And if you do have any more questions, then leave some comments down on the video. And I'm sure people will reply to them. Or you can always post them in the Incoming Jets Facebook group. That's a thing. I just joined a Jet Prep Discord. There's a Discord for people who are coming in there. And I don't know if there are other people who are like current Jets in there besides me right now. But if you have a question, just hit me up on the Discord and I'll try to answer anything. But yeah, there's lots of us. We all want to help you as much as possible. We want you guys to not be anxious. So whatever we can do to help you, then yeah. And also for this video in particular, this is a new format that we're trying. So if you guys like this format and you want to see more of this kind of thing, also let us know. Give us some feedback, and then we can do more stuff right now because we're trying to wait a little bit until you guys get placements before we like start on more Q&A stuff. So. But I think this turned out pretty well. What do you think, guys?
Yeah. Everybody can't do camera angles.
Yeah. Thank you to Sarah here for being lovely and showing her apartment. I needed a person, and I was like, Sarah, help me. So
I'm very happy to be here. Thanks for having all of us.
Yes.
Yeah.
I might pull you in for some more videos later. We were just talking about this.
Absolutely.
All right. Okay. I'm gonna get you off of here, and that way we can wrap things up. All right.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Alrighty. Okay, Jordan.
Yep.
All right.
Thank you so much to everyone who came on. You all did an amazing job, and you all covered such different topics. It was so good. I think pretty much everyone covered completely different, but all extremely important and useful parts of being a Jet. So almost no overlap, and I think, if anyone watched the entire thing, thank you, and also you probably came away with a lot of different stuff.
Like there's been a consistent like at least 30 viewers. At the moment there's 20 because people are closing it out, but yeah, I'm surprised and I'm just impressed by you guys. You guys are awesome. So
yeah. And I guess if you like this format, also let us know what particular topics you'd want us to handle in the future, and we can probably try and rope some people in. I can always drag poor Ahimeans in, bully them into helping me.
I had to, of course, Sarah was a very willing participant, but everyone I asked for Yoda, she was just like, no. I was sorry.
Like, I know a few very Genki people who are more than happy to do this sort of thing if we do need them.
Yeah. no, there's tons of people all over Japan who want to talk to you guys and like impart their on you.
Yeah, I mean, a big thing to remember, you all want your placements extremely badly, and I totally get that. But so many people here want to know who their neighbors are, who's taking their schools. Two people will be taking my schools, and I want to know who I can just shout at for a week and tell them exactly what their job will be like.
Yes.
So a lot of us are here, very anxious to know who is going to be, in our friend group for the next 1 to 5 years. So we're all eager to tell you whatever we can help with.
We're always excited. We're always excited to get new people. Like, yes, we love everybody who's here, and we love people who are leaving, but we're always excited to get new people.
Yes, fresh blood.
Fresh blood. Yes. Okay. Well, thank you to my co-host Jordan.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Thank you for organizing it and doing all the tech side of everything. It's been extremely easy to co-host for me.
I was off camera at one point just eating food. I was not hungry.
The upside of having different people talking, isn't it?
Exactly.
We can hide for a little.
Exactly. Yes. Okay. But again, one more time, let us know if you have anything else you want to hear from us, or if you have any more questions at all. We're here for you guys. We're here when you need us. Physicians Mutual. That was a commercial from America.
We have a jingle now.
Good. Yes. Jet Program Mutual. Okay, I'm going to stop. It's been like 2.5 hours. All right. Okay. Thank you guys again. And we will see you in the next time. Bye.
See you.
See you. As we say. See you.
See you.